Hello again everyone. Happy Christmas. I hope you have a good new year. I thought I'd just get a little video in quickly before the new year comes in. It's been a little while, I apologise. I'll tell you very quickly and then we'll get on with what we're doing. But I've just been up to my eyes in it, and a lot of confidential projects that I've not necessarily assigned to be quiet, but been asked not to use them on YouTube, so it's just cool. So this one that I'm working on now, I can finally talk about. I'll go into a little bit more detail at the end of the video if you're interested. But what we'll do is we'll get on with now. I've been recording some bass today. This is a little bit of a piecemeal job that's going on. We've got a drummer's been in and done all the drums. We've got guitarists working on it and I'm playing bass on it myself. So I just wanted to go through with you how I've set up the bass. You saw previously in one of my other videos about how the drum setup that we used. Well, this is the same project. It's a different song, but same project. So without further ado, if I swizz the camera around. So live room, we've been rehearsing in here. We had a little bit of a gig just before Christmas, which was quite cool. But anyway, what we've got set up in here is my bass cab. I'm hoping the light will be good to us. It's a 2x15, if I remember rightly. I think it's a Carlsbro or a PV, can't remember. I've had it for 20, 30 years. Anyway, so what I'm doing is I'm miking that up with what is essentially, it's just a large diaphragm dynamic microphone, a kick drum mic. It's a cheap, I think it's Super Lux again, off of the drum set lot. It does what I want, it sounds good. I'm pretty much miking into the middle of the speaker, just on the edge of the dust cap. And that's it. I mean, I've tried various, having a couple of mics on here on each speaker, but this works for what I want for this project. So for now, we'll head on into the control room. So that is coming from my Fender Bassman here, which again, I think I've had this since I was 18. So that's all of, God, oh my God, 34 years, something like that. I've had this from you. Anyway, so this is my amp that I'm using. I've used for all of my life, basically. We have a Harley Benton DI, bass DI. I'm using the EQ and a little bit of the compression on it. I love this thing, it sounds great, it works. I actually use this live now. The Fender's a little bit too fragile, but this thing I actually take out and I use with a powered speaker. So this is my preamp and it sounds great. No complaints. So obviously we're going DI into number 1 on my Focusrite Sapphire. I'm plugged in here and then we're coming out the through into the amp, which is getting mic'd up and coming in on another channel. So that's the chain. Very simple, and for anybody that's interested, we have my old bass collection, which I've had for, again, 20 odd years. I've bought other basses, as you can see. I've got a couple over here, I've got more kicking around, but this thing has been my go-to for many years now. So that's the chain going into the computer. So what we'll do is I'll switch out the cameras and stuff, and we'll have a listen to how it's sounding, what we're doing once it goes into the computer. Alright? One other reason that the cab is kind of stuck here in the corner under a set of stairs, but it's also because there's my sofas here, there's a monitor that I've kind of put there, there's a chair, and I'll back off and show you. It's all just kind of closed in that little space. Now, I've taken it off for filming purposes, but this blanket here usually goes right over the top. And I do this with guitars as well, and it's basically to stop reflections in the room coming back into the mic, to deaden the mic as much as possible so that all it's picking up is the signal from the speaker. Okay, So just a little kind of tip there. It really helps, you know, unless you want room sound in there. I mean, I don't like reflections from the back wall coming in. It starts causing phase problems and all the rest of it. So I prefer to just deaden it as much as I possibly can. Okay? Okay guys, so you heard, well, I showed you the input chain as it comes into the computer, which is very simple. A DI box and a kick mic on my cab. That's all it takes. The only kind of thing I tend to do a little bit differently, and you'll hear why in a minute. What I'm going to do is I'm going to switch off all the effects, let you hear it raw. So I'll let you hear, I kind of balanced it a little bit. I'll just let you hear the bass as I recorded it. Let me just solo things correctly here, so that I don't cut my mic out like I did just a minute ago and recorded 10 minutes of nothing. But anyway. So let's just have a listen to the bass, the two sources mixed together. We get a little bit of bottom end back by hitting the phase button on the bass amp. Just, you got to try and just check what your phase is doing. I mean, it depends what you prefer. Let's just see. We can have a look, because we've got this in a folder track. We can just have a look at a waveform and just see how in phase we are or not. So if I pull this out, you can see that we're kind of out of phase, because one's going up while the other one's going down and vice versa. So we are actually out of phase between the two, which is no surprise, because the microphone takes a little bit longer to get to the computer than the DI signal does. It's just that simple. So we'll leave that one with the phase switched on. So if we listen to it like that. So it's a reasonable enough bass sound. So what we'll do is, let me just shrink this a little bit. If we have a listen to each one separately, so we listen to the DI, just raw. Okay, and then if we check out the amp. Now I'm sure from that you can understand why I'd prefer to use the amp for the bottom end. Okay, so the DI I'm going to use for my top end, and I'm going to distort it a little bit, etc. So if we'll open up our effects, switch it on, and what I've done is I've put in re-EQ, and I've just done a bit of a high pass here just to lose some of the bottom end on it. So if we listen to that. So before, after. Now, why'd you cut out the bottom end, Simon? I hear you screaming at me. Well, I'm going to put it back in with the dynamic, with the amp. So if we go over to that one, I'm going to switch the EQ back on. I'll switch it off for now and just let you hear what the amp sounds like on its own again. That's why I use it for the bottom end. So what I've done is I've put re-EQ in here. I cut off some of the top end that was kind of fighting between the DI and that. So that's what I'm using from my amp. Okay. So if we put the two together, if I want more definition, I can bring up the DI. If I want more bass, I can bring up the amp and blend them to taste. Now, the next stage I'm going to do with this, I mean, really I'm kind of getting into mixing tips, but I'm just wanting to show you how my thought process was in my bass. I've now got a distortion channel, which I'm only sending the DI to, okay? So that goes via re-EQ, and I'll cut out more bottom end again. So this is all high mids to, to treble going into this. And that goes into, oh, I'll switch that off. Wrong one. We'll get there. Don't worry. Goes into my good friend Decapitator on punish mode. Okay, and I've got it on the Neve setting. I've also set the low cut as high up as I can. I haven't done anything with the tone, just leave that alone. I may take off some top end just a little bit. Let's have a listen to it on its own and see what it sounds like. No, I like that. Sounds nasty and horrible, but when you hear it all together, we're like this. Okay, so it doesn't make a lot of sense. What I'm going to do is I'm going to knock it out, and we're going to listen to the full mix again, and I'll bring it in, and you'll see what happens with it. Okay, so here we go. I really hope you can hear that, because that makes such a difference. You can hear the notes now. The bottom end is there, but the bottom end doesn't get definition with your notes, so you need that little bit high end distortion just to bring out all the notes and the individual notes that you can hear. Now obviously once the vocals going, oh, this is going to change. I'm just trying to show you kind of roughly how I think about when I'm recording my bass and what I'm looking for from the sources, because it's important that I know beforehand that I'm going to use my DI for the high end, because otherwise, you know, there's a EQ on my DI, so I've set that deliberately so that it is aiming at the high mids and mids to give me my definition, and I've set my amp up with the tone controls on that to give me the bottom end that I want, and I've set the microphone as close to the middle as I can. That gives me that fullest, roundest tone that I can get, and that's basically, you know, why I'm showing you kind of as far as I'm into the kind of mixing process, if you like. But it's because I'm thinking ahead. I'm thinking when I'm recording the sounds that I want to use. I'm not recording something that's just neutral and I can fuck about with later. No? So that's the whole point. I like to commit. You know, we're recording amps with the guitars. You know, and we're committing to the sounds as we're going. We'll always record DI tracks. Everything gets a DI track, and we're probably going to do some reamping later, but we want the sound kind of roughly in the ballpark where we want to be ahead of time. And it's just security, just, you know, a little bit of safety. So yeah, thank you for watching. I mean, this project, I can finally tell you, is for a guy called Mickey Ripley, who was a singer back in the 80s and 90s for a band called Red Dogs. Look him up. They were signed to Atlantic. They did really well in Britain for, you know, a few years, and then Mickey just had enough. He left. I hooked up with him and we formed a band called Josh, or he'd formed a band called Josh, and I got recruited into that, playing bass for him for a couple of years. And then he decided he couldn't handle it and went off, and he was doing his own thing down in Cornwall. I mean, fair play. He was playing folk music, and he has been doing for 20 years now. But now he's decided he wants to get back to the old rock stuff, which is where his heart is. And he put a band together, and now he's asked me to work on and produce the first album. So I've been sent the backing tracks, been asked to put together some musicians here in Sweden to record the backings, and he's going to come over and sing on it. So yeah, that's what this is all about. So there's a lot going on. I haven't put a lot of videos out because there's been a lot going on that I haven't been able to talk about, that I'm not allowed to talk about. There's been some non-disclosure stuff that I'm working on. There's this project, I didn't want to talk about it. There was none really said, but now that Mickey's announced it on social media, I feel that it's okay to mention what's happening. use a little bit of the tracks. I'm not really giving much away here, so that you can get an idea of what we're doing. And you saw in another video there that I showed you our drum setup. I mean, we've got some more tracks to record drum wise. So I'll try and do a little bit more video on this now that the cat's out of the bag, and I can, you know. Other news is that, I don't know if those of you that have been following the channel have heard of a band called Damage from Scotland that were over here year before last October, 2 years ago, October a year and a half ago. They're coming back in March to do their second album, so that's kind of cool, especially now that my live room's much more together and usable, as it wasn't before. It was a bit of a shithole. I just slung it together quickly so that we could use it, but no, I've been working on that, so it's really cool. There's a lot going on, and thankfully this has opened up a little bit so I can do some videos on what we're doing, and I'll try and get some videos of when we're recording guitars and etc. and what we're doing there. Okay, so thanks for hanging in with me, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for all the really nice messages, and I'll hope to see you soon. Cheers. Bye for now.